Good morning and welcome to this video. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Bella Luna. I'm a spiritual life coach, healer, mystic, transformational facilitator, and radical self-love advocate, and also soon to be digital nomad. Boom, 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 because I'm moving to Thailand in 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days. Yeah, 3 days. And it is kicking my ass. Like, so many triggers, so much coming up. So for those of you that don't know, today and the last 2 days, we've been in the last quarter phase of the moon, the last quarter. So the next phase is the phase just before we go back into the new moon. So this phase is during the waning period. So the moon is decreasing in size, and the last quarter is all about surrender and release. So surrendering to the highest good for all and releasing that which no longer serves you. And boy, has surrender and release been kicking my ass like you wouldn't believe. So obviously, in order to move to Thailand, I have to pack up my life into a 60 kg bag. 60 kg? No, 60 litre bag and 20 kgs. 20 kgs is my allowance, and I have a 60 litre bag. So everything that I take has to fit into 60 litres and be under 20 kgs. And so this week in my last email newsletter that went out on Sunday, I put a quote in the newsletter that said, "In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you." That was by Buddha. And I have to say, I'm not doing very well at the whole gracefully letting things that are not meant for you, right? I am very ungracefully letting go of the things in my life. Yesterday was the biggest example. Yesterday, I had to say goodbye to my car. It's the only car I've ever had. I've had him for 8 years. He was my grandma's before that. Like, it was my grandma's favorite car. And I've had him for 8 years. His name was Pegasus because he magically flew me from one place to another. There were times when I'd arrive at my destination, I'd be like, how did I get here? Hey, thanks, Pegasus. I was told about 4 or 5 years ago, no, definitely more than four, about 5, 6 years ago, that the gearbox was like gonna need replacing imminently and that there were loads of things wrong with it. And I was like, you know, at that time I just trained in Reiki, and I was like, I'm just gonna Reiki the shit out of it and I think it will be fine. And he lasted another like 6 or so years. So he was a magical car, and I had to say goodbye to him yesterday, and that was really, really painful, really, really hard. And I'm having this internal battle of like, it's an inanimate object. Why are you being so why are you being so weird about it? And then the other part of me is like, but it's Pegasus and it was my grandma's and he's taken me on so many adventures, you know, like to all the festivals I've been to all the little holidays within the UK I've been to. He's taken me on some great, great journeys. And that was a great example of ungracefully letting go of things and releasing attachments. And I'm doing the same thing with a lot of my belongings as well. So I did this last year quite a lot. I downsized from a 3-bedroom house into basically 1 bedroom about a year ago, when I rented out my house and was going to move to Thailand a year ago, but it's taken me a year to sort of get my stuff together because of COVID and everything. So I did this a year ago when I downsized from a 3-bedroom entire house, and now everything fits in 1 bedroom. But I'm still having to sort of downsize again and release lots of things. I just threw away, I haven't worn makeup in let's say 7 years, 8 years maybe. I haven't worn makeup. I've only worn biodegradable, sustainable vegan glitter. And lipstick and glitter are the only makeup I have worn in the last 7-8 years. And I just found loads of makeup in my toiletries, and I'm like, why is this makeup even here, going in the bin? And it must be over 8 years old, and I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to keep makeup that long. So in the bin it went. That was a real graceful release, but the car was definitely an ungraceful release. I've had to say goodbye to some routines, some rituals. What part of my ritual every morning is to do 10 to 20 minutes of hula hooping with my big like exercise hula hoop, and I can't take that with me. So no more hula hooping in my morning routine, unless I can find one out there, which I might eventually look for. So I had to release that from my routine. I'm having to release a lot of foods from my diet, because there's a lot of foods I eat in the UK that you cannot get in Thailand. I'm a vegetarian, so I eat a lot of corn products and Linda McCartney and plant-based stuff. And there's a lot of that you can't get out there. It is very vegetarian friendly in Thailand, but not in terms of having the literal substitutes like veggie sausages, veggie burgers, veggie mince, all of that kind of stuff. It's not the same. It's like, you just have a veggie pad thai that's like just without the meat, and you have tofu instead. So they do have a lot of tofu. So that's great. So releasing my attachments to my diet, releasing my attachments to my morning routine, releasing my attachments to my car, releasing attachments to a lot of my magic tools. Now, this has been an interesting one. This has been a really interesting one, because in the early days of my spiritual journey, I did the typical thing that most people do when they get onto their spiritual journey, and I became an absolute magpie. And I was like, oh, crystals, wands, broomsticks, cloaks, ornaments, sprays and tinctures and oils and flags, and I don't even know what else, like shells and fairies and statues and knives and different athamades and cauldrons and so many things. I've definitely whittled them down over the years, because I then learned very deeply that my magic doesn't come from the tools. My magic comes from me, right? So the tools are like just an implement that I use, like a pen, right? The pen doesn't give you words. It just helps you write down what, magical words are inside you and get them onto the paper. It's just a tool you use to amplify the natural gifts that you already have. So when I went to Asia the first time, and I went traveling for a year around Asia, I had a box about just a little box this big, and that's all the magic stuff I had, all the magic stuff, that and a wand that didn't fit in the box. And it was quite literally about this big and about this fat. It was a little electronics case that I used for my magic stuff. And that was all I needed, because wherever I was, I just used what was around me: stones, earth, leaves, twigs, incense, shells, rocks, flowers, whatever the earth was providing. I just sort of used that and picked up a couple of little bits along the way. But because of my business, because of working in my business the last few years, I've got quite attached, seemingly, to a lot of the objects that I use to like help teach. So I've recently created a course that will soon be available on my Cosmic Academy called what's it called? Energy Cleanse, and my Energy Cleanse and Reboot Ritual. So it's explaining to you how you can cleanse your home, cleanse your space, your objects, yourself of negative and stagnant energies, and refresh the energy within your home and your life. And it's like it takes you through this ritual. And as I'm recording the videos for this course, I'm realizing just how many implements and instruments I'm using, like my broomstick standing up here behind me, and all my wands, my sprays, my smudging stuff, my crystals, my candles, all of that kind of magical stuff. And I'm like, wow, I use a lot of stuff within some of my teachings, but I'm going to have to really strip back on my magic tools and tune back into the fact that my magic is within me. My magic is based on intention. And if I don't have I will have a wand, but say I didn't have a wand, I could just pick up a pencil and be like, this is my wand, you are going to direct the energy for me, and it therefore becomes my wand. I don't even need a wand because I have a hand and a finger, and that's perfectly acceptable to use for directing energy as well. And obviously in Thailand, I'll be able to pick up hordes of incense and hordes of candles, so that won't be a problem at all. So I've just got a couple of tea lights and a couple of sticks of incense to sort of like get me going, mainly because I love Nag Champa, and they don't have Nag Champa out there, at least not that I can find. That's more of an Indian incense, I think. So there's been a lot of releasing attachments, particularly, oh, this is my favorite crystal, and as you can see, it is almost the size of my head. Naturally, I cannot take this with me. Sorry, Crystal, I love you. And that's going to be really hard because I love this massive crystal. I use it a lot, but I just can't take it. I just can't take it. And that's been quite difficult to let go of that. So there's been a lot of release. There has also been a lot of surrendering to what will be, will be. The process for getting into Thailand has been very complicated and rigorous. There's lots of paperwork, lots of applications, lots of hoops to jump through to get through their quarantine procedures and to tick all their boxes. This morning, just before I recorded this video, I came back from a drive-through PCR COVID test, the drive-through one. Wind down your window. Right down your window, the person standing on the other side of the window, and you have to sit there like, ah, while they stick the little swab in your mouth and then poke it up your nose, and you're like, this is the weirdest experience of my life. And then this random person, you know, with a mask on and goggles, you can't even see their face, you don't even know their name, and you're like, this is one of the most intimate experiences I've had with a human being, and I don't even know your name and I don't even know what your face looks like, and you're just sticking something up my nose and twizzling it around. It was very surreal. So fingers crossed that comes back negative. I would like all your magical juju sent my way, please. I have not really been out the house much for the last 10 days, so I should be okay. But that's just one of the many hoops I've had to jump through. And that has been a real case of surrendering and just hoping that they accept me, hoping that it will all work out, hoping that my flights don't get cancelled, hoping that, you know, my tests are negative, hoping that this is the right path for me and that we'll all open up and everything will go, you know, as smoothly as possible. So it's been a real process of surrender and release. But one thing I do know about surrender and release is surrendering and releasing is what leads to so much magic, so much synchronicity, so much unexpected joys that life has to offer you. The great thing about surrendering to the highest good for all and releasing that which no longer serves you is that you are releasing attachments to what happened, which means you are allowing for things to happen that are better than you could have ever planned for, hoped for, and imagined yourself. So it's a truly enlightening experience to surrender and release. And for everything that I've released, for all of the routines, for all of the possessions and objects, for all of the habits, for the foods, for the relationships, for the time, how I spend my time, for everything that I've released, that is making space in my life for new things to come in, for new energies, for new experiences, for new objects, new possessions, new habits, new rituals, new relationships, new ways of being. And that is incredibly exciting to say, like, I am leaving behind my whole life. And the only thing I'm taking with me is this 60-litre 20 kg bag and my online business and myself, obviously. And that's all that's coming with me. You know, I'm leaving behind my family, my home, my land. And I've done it before. I've traveled around Asia for a year and I've lived in Thailand for a year before. but that was over 4 years ago, and I've been in this country for most of the last 4 years. I think I had a 10-day holiday 2 years ago, but I've been in this country pretty much solidly for over 4 years now. So a lot of my friends are like, oh, but this is easy for you, right? No big deal. And I'm like, oh, probably not as much of a big deal for me as it is for someone who'd never been, living abroad before. But there's, I didn't have my business the last time I went to Asia. That's where my business was birthed, in Asia. So I'm looking forward to like reconnecting with the energies of birthing my business and how far it's come since then. But it's still a big deal because, I spent a lot of time with my family the last 4 years. That's one of the reasons I moved back, because I wanted to be close to them. And now I feel like it's my time to go and venture back out again. So it's time, but it's absolutely kicking my butt. And I don't want anyone to think that this is just such an easy process. It is very cathartic and very freeing and liberating, and don't get me wrong, I am super excited, but this week especially has been full of anxiety, full of worry, full of manic excitement. Like I'm packing like a lunatic, organizing my stuff, boxing things up. I've got loads of those vacuum sealed bags, so I'm putting all like my coats and my fabrics and my blankets and my cushions and like smushing them all up. But there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do to pack up a life and move across the world. But all of the surrendering and releasing is making way for all the new glorious things to come. And the next phase we enter into is the waning crescent, which is all about resting and restoring. And I will be going to a tropical beach where I will be doing a lot of resting and restoring, lying in hammocks, drinking fresh coconuts, and swimming in the ocean, not to mention all the sunbathing that I will be doing. And I'm so excited to share it all with you. This will be my last live in the UK. So the next live I do will probably be in Thailand, unless I do like a cheeky one from the airport or something, which isn't really my style, but you never know. So if you want to come along with me for this wild ride, then the best place to catch me will be over on Instagram. My handle is at BellaLunaMystic, and you can catch it in comments and all over my life. So at BellaLunaMystic, that's where you can catch my travels and my adventures, my witching around Asia, and my digital witch nomad life. So if you want to get involved in that, then join me over on Instagram, or join my private Facebook group if that's not where you're watching this, or join my YouTube channel if that's not where you're watching this, because it's on all of those platforms. But yeah, I will be around, I will be posting, I will still be online. My business is still online. I will just be doing it from Thailand. So much love and infinite blessings from me, and I will see you in Thailand. Woo! Bye.